Alright, in this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about the double TV taping that WWE is doing next week live from Madison Square Garden for both Raw on Monday night and Smackdown Live on Tuesday night, because I am going to actually be attending both of these shows. And I'm pretty excited about it. It's been the first time that a WWE has returned to the Garden for a TV taping since 2009. That infamous moment where Kofi Kingston jumps off the barricade with the boom boom leg drop through Randy Orton through the table. And that was a show I was at as well. Actually, in the next video, I'm going to do a kind of look back as to what it was like to be there that night 10 years ago, as I get excited and kind of continue the build, I guess, that I'm creating almost for myself towards these shows here on Monday and Tuesday next week. And it's been a pretty cool deal for me. I've been very lucky this year. Obviously, I went to the Royal Rumble in Arizona, had the time of my life. It just was taken over by wrestling fans. So cool to be down in Arizona. It felt just like literally everybody was there for WWE. And then, obviously, here in my backyard, WrestleMania week, all the craziness that comes with that. I was at G1 Supercard, NXT TakeOver, WWE Access, Raw After Mania, WrestleMania. So many shows at such like a crazy little short window of time that it was overwhelming, but it was great. And then, hey, I'm in St. Martin with my wife, and we're coming back on the flight, and I'm like, hey, we could still get tickets for Money in the Bank. Do you want to do it? And she's down for it. So we went to Money in the Bank. And then my best buddy comes in from Orlando, Florida, and we haven't even thought about wrestling. Like, this guy just hasn't watched wrestling in 10 years, hasn't thought about it. And we're talking about, like, what are we going to do when he comes to New York? And we have, like, a set list of, like, 4 or 5 plans. Probably on the bottom of the list is NXT TakeOver 25, and that's what we ended up doing. So it was really cool, and I've been lucky, but I thought that was the end of it. I thought, like, NXT TakeOver 25 was awesome. I was there to go with my friend, see how excited he was about wrestling again, and see like kind of his passion for wrestling kind of come back, at least for one night. And so that was great. And I thought that was it. I thought that was over. Kind of going to be the end of my wrestling year. But then, get an email from Ticketmaster prompting me to select a pre-sale code that I could get for either Raw or Smackdown Live. Obviously, I choose Raw because it's the flagship, right? I'm like, I have to go. And I told my wife, we've got to go. It's Madison Square Garden. It's the building I grew up going to. That WWE seemingly has stopped running for like 10 years, which was like, that didn't happen back in the day. This wasn't a situation where like you would have thought that WWE would ever be in, because WWE used to run the Garden like 100 times a year. I grew up with like WWE being at Madison Square Garden all the time. And even as I got a little older, WWE at least would come around once or twice a year for TV tapings and pay-per-views, and that all stopped in 2011. I guess because the Garden just became so, so expensive to run, and so WWE just sort of stopped doing it. So when I heard they were coming to the Garden, I was like, hell yes, we're gonna go. We're gonna have ourselves a little wrestling weekend here in the beginning of September, and it's of all years to do it, it makes sense that this weekend is coming up now, because typically the way that I feel like my wrestling calendar goes, it's like you've got Rumble, you've got Mania, you've got Wrestle Kingdom, Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, and then that's kind of it, right? Then like I get into football, then I get excited about kind of the start of like if you're in the business world like myself, it's like you decide to start, like you have to start ramping up your activities again. You're there during the summer, but like the fall, September's like, it's like work heavy, school starts again for the kids. So it's like wrestling, I feel like it's over after SummerSlam, but not at all this year. No. It's like you've got AEW coming to TNT, you've got NXT coming to USA, SmackDown going to Fox, and now here in the middle of all this, I get to have a really cool wrestling weekend and go to Madison Square Garden on Monday at the very least. Definitely have my tickets for that, because I was able to get tickets relatively easily, because these shows, they obviously, kind of a big story is that they have not sold out right away. I do think Raw did sell out. I know you guys are going to come at me with a lot of the open seats that are still there, but I think those are actually just resale seats. If you look, most of those kind of connect over to StubHub, and it's kind of the same seats that are there. So I do think Raw is going to be a sellout, and I think people will be excited for it. But then I think that SmackDown will be the next day, and I'm probably going to end up going to SmackDown too. I haven't been to a SmackDown in a really long time, but like the idea that it's there at the Garden with the back-to-back shows, it's kind of like, why not? And so I'm excited about it. And so let me get into kind of how my week is going to go in terms of these wrestling shows. You guys know I'm huge on like trying to do a second or third show that's somewhat wrestling related or something different during the week to kind of get myself amped up for these shows. There really isn't much wrestling related events going on over the weekend. I know that Sam Roberts has a show, and I know that just the name Sam Roberts for you guys, some of you guys might be like cringing, but I kind of like Sam. I've always liked him. I grew up as a kid. My father would always listen to Opie and Anthony, so I kind of knew of Sam when he was an intern there. And then I had a lot of respect that, like, while he was establishing his broadcast career, he was doing wrestling interviews just basically because this was a passion for himself, and he just was a big wrestling fan. And I know that, like, he's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way with these Bianca Belair comments, and they were wrong and they were silly. But at the same time, I do think he was just trying to kind of break the idea of him being a WWE shill, and I think he was trying to maybe kind of go heel, and I just don't think it worked. But I've gone to his shows in the past. I've enjoyed them quite a bit. The difference being that those shows were free. So when I went to go see him at like SummerSlam weekend 2015, when he had Heyman there, and the next year I think when he had Owens there, those were a lot of fun, but they were free. So for me, it's kind of like, can I justify whatever price it is to go see him at Caroline's and now have to pay to do so? And I understand why he's charging. But at the same time, me personally, I probably won't go. But I do think that if you do go on that Sunday night before Raw, I think you could turn yourself into a good 3-day weekend and have fun doing so. So for me, it's going to be cool, man, because I'm not somebody who typically takes public transportation to work. I work in downtown Brooklyn. I live like on the border of Long Island and Queens. So like public transportation is not something that's easy for me to do really at all. But it's just something that logistically just makes the most sense for this. So I'm going to get up early. I'm going to have to take public transportation from all the way around, probably about a 2-hour commute into downtown Brooklyn, and then just jump back on the subway, shoot back to the Garden, and I'll be there right there at the Mecca for Raw. And my wife's coming, my brother-in-law's coming, and we're going to have a great time. I'm hoping that we're able to, if we could kind of converge a little early. For me, as you guys know, by seeing some of my old vlogs, I think part of the fun is kind of getting that pre-wrestling meal. I feel like when you're just running in to catch the show, it's kind of like you're just watching the show, but if you get to the area early, you get something to eat, you can go in early, check out the merch, see if there's anything you want to buy, and then kind of settle in for whatever dark matches are going to happen, and then obviously Raw from there. And then the next day, I'm going to try to do it all over again. Smackdown is not 100%, but I'm thinking I'm going to do it. I haven't been to a Smackdown, I feel like in at least 5-6 years. There's been many opportunities. There's been SummerSlam weekend's been here for every single weekend for 4 years, and then WrestleMania was, and so there was always Smackdowns that were like an option, but I was always just tired at the end of it, so I haven't been able to go to Smackdown. So I'm excited at the idea of doing it, and like the idea that I'm going to be at work, hustling, bustling, crunching numbers, doing how I do, with the idea being that like at the end of the day, I get to go and see some live wrestling. Like, dude, that is where it's at. That's about as cool as it can get. So I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it. I know there's people that are, oh, it didn't sell out. I am willing to bet that because these shows didn't sell out right away, they're going to be throwing balls to the wall on both shows. They want people to go, damn, next time that WWE comes to the Garden for a show, I need to make sure I'm there. I think there's almost like a thought process that like WWE in New York belongs to the Barclays Center now because they've done so much at Barclays that it's almost like, oh, MSG is almost a bit of an afterthought. I'm telling you right now, I think they're going to throw everything at the wall at these shows. Obviously, you've got Austin on Monday. You got Undertaker on Tuesday. I think they're going to be great. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. We bring the camera along. Hopefully, we'll film as much as I possibly can for you guys here on the channel. We have that next video that I'm talking about with what it was like to be there at the Garden the night that Kofi jumped through Randy Orton and the table, as well as a whole bunch more stuff coming up throughout the week. So if it's your first time checking out the channel, make sure you guys hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.